So the first I'd like to talk about is a bit of the total chain of events that occurs across change management. Change management for us is kind of a special topic because of how we're able to connect things across the ecosystem. When a quality event occurs, it's typically taken in through a QMS application. That quality event is investigated. There are problems and root causes that can be identified, and there's a Kappa program that's assembled. Those Kappa programs often trigger change control directly, and those change controls often touch a lot of other systems that may exist within the ecosystem of previously disconnected apps. In the world of Vault and a unified and connected environment, those are not disconnected anymore. They're on the same platform, and they're literally the same system. So during the impact assessment portion of a change control, there's a whole interface that happens with regulatory that I'm going to drill down to in a moment that can be directly connected and tied directly into change control. The second thing is in the document change control area. There's frequently impacted documents to a change. And when QMS and content management are in the same environment, it can literally be one business process. So impacted documents can be identified, packaged into a group, and directly linked to a change. The visibility of status of those document updates can be transparent and surface directly through the change. And an organization can rationalize the level of review and approval that needs to happen in each one of those domains so that you're not duplicating and dragging the overall cycle time out for a change. The last is the whole notion of how training is linked into this. There's often an impact to user training both through Kappa programs where you may adjust training programs as part of a remediation plan. In the change control domain, there's frequently training requirements that are impacted by the changes that you're putting in place, and the dots can be seamlessly connected between these things when you have them all co-located and housed within a single place. So next I'm going to drill a little bit more into this business process unification topic between quality and regulatory. And we've had some interesting learnings here which I would share. It's been kind of an age-old disconnect point if you look at when you're proposing a change in a product, understanding what the regulatory impact of that proposed change is. And we found that those were frequently emails, phone calls, manual modes of communication, and it was really a disconnect between quality and regulatory. And there were times that changes may move forward without the appropriate intelligence around the regulatory impact. So because Veeva has systems that exist on both sides of the equation, we have the quality suite, which has a very significant ownership over the change control process, and we have Vault registrations, which is part of our RIM suite. We ask the question of why can't we connect those business processes in a much more effective way? So we now have the ability when a change control is tagged as having potential regulatory impact, that it can directly message the regulatory stakeholders by way of our registrations application and say, hey, here's some identifying information about the product I'm proposing to change. Here's a description of the change. Please advise on the regulatory impact of this. We have some interesting capabilities in RIM that allow automated lookups and reports and things of that sort to determine that regulatory impact, which is then returned back to the change control process so that those that are assessing whether that change will move forward have that intelligence right at their fingertips in an immediate fashion as soon as those activities are done by the regulatory team. Then, assuming the change is approved to move forward, we can then make the status of those regulatory country-by-country approvals surface directly within the quality domain to determine whether ship decisions can be made for that particular increment of product. And that's been another challenge point in terms of visibility, and we're connecting the dots between those two areas. So I think the learning here for us has been there's a couple parts of this to be able to make it successful in a real customer environment. There's the technology part, which from Veeva's perspective, that's within our control. We can put the connection points between these different areas. We can build sort of standardized process so it's repeatably implementable. But what we didn't really think as much about at the beginning is this is an organizational change. This is tearing down a barrier between quality and regulatory and having them work within a single business process in a much different way than they had worked before. And what we realized is attention needs to be placed on that. Time needs to be allocated. And it's really not just a matter of pushing the technology that connects the two things in place and you're done. So we now add an element of business consulting and a consultative supporting element to connecting business processes like this. And we found that we can make it more effective if we treat the change management element of it with a bit more care, and we don't look at it just as a cool thing that we did with technology. So definitely some learnings there. I think we probably have a dozen or so of these that are either live or in some stage of implementation, and we're trying to sort of sharpen our approach with it.